passing angel housekeeping. My daughter calls as she walks the dark winter streets to her 12-hour shift in the ER, and I can hear the swish of passing cars, the clicking of the crosswalk light. Soon she'll be in triage or trauma or peds, but for these few minutes, she's all mine again, telling me more about Angel, who mops and disinfects the floors, wipes down the walls after she empties a room, telling me he is at this moment on the other side of the street, a shadow in circles of lamplight. We've made up a life for him, apartment on Grove Street with chili pepper plants thriving on the balcony, soccer on the TV, English lessons from his kids, church on Sundays. But none of this we can ever really know. In a few minutes, Angel will guide his push broom with such care and precision, it's clear he is rowing the boat that will take patients back home to safety once again. So just open it up if anyone has a question or a thought or a complaint. Particularly any questions about like how you go from having the idea to then tinkering with it. And
where did you get the last image, the rowing the boat image? Where did you, what inspired that?
well, I asked her what else she like, how he goes about, like he'll end up disinfecting the rooms, but first he sweeps, and it's actually not a push broom. This is sort of, licensed as a writer. It's just a regular broom. But then I thought about the idea of a push broom is somewhat like a gondolier, or like a row, like an oar. And then the idea of passing over, he often will clean rooms of people who have passed over. And she's often with those patients on the COVID unit. And so the idea of rowing them back to the idea of safety, that motion of trying to bring, as opposed to, I mean, he does this a lot, I think, but it was the sweeping that I imagined as such a sort of ethereal gesture.
Well,
does that answer?
Yeah, that does answer it. Because the last poem, I'm thinking about both of these poems hark back to like literary traditions and mythical traditions. And the last one reminded me so much of that psalm, the lilies of the field, they weep not, nor do they toil. That psalm, yeah, and I like that reference, even though it's very subtle and very beautiful. And this one with him kind of gondoliering in the room and rowing the patients to safety, it's like Michael rowed the boat ashore, or people making passages and going on. Either some people had to go across the river Styx and because they had died, but left this earth, but these people are going home to safety, a passage. So yeah, that nice mythical references. I like that.
I thank you for saying that, because I might try to write a companion poem about that idea of the Michael row the boat ashore. I'd not thought of that one before.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I also thought about the river Styx when I read that, Chris, and I think it's always so hard to start and end a poem, and I love the way you gave that such weight, but in a subtle way. So I appreciate you sharing how you like got to that image. And I guess my question is, when you're writing, especially the end of a poem, how intentional is it? Like, does it sort of just come to you, or do you know, like when you start the poem, oh, I think I want to end with this image of the boat? You know what I mean? Do you write your way into that ending, or do you already know it when you start?
I think I write my way into it, meaning it kind of, first I had the image of the lamplight. So Angel is in light. And then I thought, but she was also expressing such admiration for what he did. And then I thought of all the things he does. So it came to that. I sort of was imagining Angel's life and then imagining that gesture. So the poem writes itself into that. Kate Kosnick.
Just, I love this idea of we've made up a life for him, you know, and that you and your daughter would co-author this. And I just think about how we continue to do this and the importance of fiction and poetry to allow us to do this. And some of my research has been in using creative writing beyond just publication for the marketplace, just preparing and packaging, and how do we use it in our lives to have writing in our lives. And I just think that that's a prompt that's going to go with me, you know, as I continue in my own writing.
Yeah, I think that there's so much room for poetry that's not the traditional, you know, write it, strive to get it in, you know, the Utne reader, and then, you know, I mean, that would be nice, but that's really not, yeah. I just wanted to share before we begin our endeavors of writing, just to show you one little trick I do, because I imagine everyone in this room loves to write, and even if you, and probably has very busy lives, and sometimes finds it difficult to carve out even 10 minutes to say, I'm going to just dedicate this 10 minutes to writing. And I came up with a little bit of a trick, which is I do ask myself to try to write. I'm just showing you my journal right now. I ask myself to write a page every day, and this can be really scribbling, like while I'm cooking dinner, or while I was waiting in the carpool line to pick up kids when they were in middle school, or I literally will have a little journal. I don't have one with me. Oh, yes, I do. Carry one of these folks with me. I'm in line at the grocery store, particularly now when you can't talk during COVID, really, to anybody. I just whip out my journal, and I'll just write, like, the lady in front of me is buying 4 boxes of Life cereal. And then, what I do, again, and I'll show you this journal because it's probably clearer. So on the right-hand side, I write down, like, the things that I'm seeing, the lady in line with the 4 boxes of Life cereal. But then if I have what I call a keeper, like, yes, that's actually a poem, like buying Life at Food Lion. Then I'll just write that down on the left-hand side. So then when I do have a half an hour on a Sunday or an hour and a half, rather than saying, Charlotte, you've not written anything this week except observations of the fact that you didn't take out the trash. If I've written something on this side, my keeper side, then I transcribe that to a file, and I just tinker with it a little bit. And I actually keep my files in a way that I graduate them. So I call file A is like raw and not even gone in the oven yet. So that's like my really not good first draft. And then I graduate it. Let's say I work on the poem in file A for an hour. I then graduate it to file B. And let me just do a screenshot of this book so you can see these files. And I just struggled for years and years. And it took me until my 52nd birthday to realize I can do it this way and not like decide, what do I do with my old drafts, or what am I going to do? I graduate them, and then I feel like they're happy too. So here's the files. Like I have, well, the first one is, the first one is early and raw. And I think I have that under, almost ready to go. Yeah. Sorry, I have a file called early and raw. Then I have a file called needs work. So the people that live in needs work, I'm calling them people, the poems that live in needs work, these folks, a lot of them, I probably spend an hour on them. If then almost ready to go, that means I'm going to show it to Kate Stevenson or Kate Kosnick. I'm going to show it to somebody and ask for feedback, and then ready to go. So all these people graduate from one another, and what it does is it divorces me from judgment, because I don't get to say, Charlotte, that's no good. I say that's going to stay living in the early for now, and maybe I'll come back to it in June or next year, and it's really relieved some stress. So before we move to our own writing, does anyone have any questions about that process? All right, let's take maybe 30 seconds. I'm going to walk us through 30 seconds of breathing, and then I'll move us into some writing. If you can and feel safe doing so, please close your eyes and breathe in all the way through your nostrils until your lungs are completely full. And then breathe out absolutely, absolutely all the way. Empty, empty, empty. On the in-breath, you may say to yourself, I am doing the best that I can. I am doing the best that I can. And on the out-breath, you might consider what you can let go of that no longer serves you. Can you let go of something? On the in-breath, you might consider bringing light into your very marrow. And on the out-breath, can you get rid of something that no longer serves you? For the prompts, what I'm going to do is put them up on a screen so my voice is not going to interrupt the flow of your writing. What do I mean by a prompt? By a prompt, I mean I'm going to bring up a sentence fragment or maybe perhaps just a word, and you have one job and one job only, and that is to keep your writing utensil moving. Even if you write, my mother hated artichokes, always did, not sure why, maybe it's because they were prickly, but I like them. Or even, why is this crazy lady having us write right now? I don't feel like it, but here I am stuck. Or I don't know what to make for dinner. Just keeping the pen moving and allowing yourself the grace and spaciousness. You do not have to be good. Just letting the grace and spaciousness move. And I'll pause for 3 minutes between each one, which will feel like certainly a long time to keep that pen moving. And then I'll say, the next prompt is up. If what you end up writing about is for your eyes only, totally fine. But I will invite everyone to share, and I'll go through the prompts at the end. But the only thing you need to know right now is I'll be putting up 5 different prompts. I'll wait 3 minutes between each one. And your job is to write for those minutes. And again, I'll put them up on a white screen. So the only thing you'll hear is me say, the next prompt is up. So I shall put up the first prompt. So here we go. Try to enter into that, even if I had never tried to. Whatever's coming to mind. 3 minutes by the clock, precisely. second one is up. The next one, which is simply one word, is up. The next one, which is a commonly heard phrase, is up. And the fifth and last is up. All right. I think the most efficient way of inviting you to share, if you feel like you would like to, would be for me to begin by asking you to maybe look over what you've written of these 5 prompts and see if something kind of, I had an instructor say, where's the heat coming? Like what's radiating heat? Is there a word that radiates heat? A phrase, an entire sentence, or 3 sentences? It seems to kind of radiate heat. You know, Lai Po said that writing poetry gives you a second life. And I think sometimes when we've written something, even though we mildly care about, it's almost like we grow an appendage or we feel like we've said something. So look over maybe what you've written for a moment here and see what you think is giving off heat. And what I'll do is I'll call your name. And again, you have 3 choices. You may simply say skip with no judgment. You may read parts and parcels of what you wrote, and you certainly do not have to say, this is my answer to number 3, or this is my answer to number 5. You may simply read what you wrote, your words. Or so you can read parts and parcels, or you could read the entirety of an answer or 2. Again, so there'll be 3 choices. I'll call your name. You will just simply begin reading, and you don't need to say from whence it came, and reading as much or as little as you want, or you may say skip. I'm going to act like I'm paying no attention because I'm going to be trying to make a poem out of what you're saying, out of your words. So if I'm not looking at the camera, it does not mean I'm not paying attention. I'm writing down what you've said. And I will begin, please, with you, Evie.
Oof, I think pass.
Okay, would you like me to come back to you afterwards? I heard a woof,
Pass.
maybe.
Try.
Okay, pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris. Chris, I'm not sure if you heard me.
I was muted. I
Great.
did Eclipse, the 3rd one. I was tired of being eclipsed by a lesser planet, not as vibrant, not as gifted, not as spirited, not as authentic, not as trusting, not as giving, just bigger and more forceful and mean. But now that eclipse is over and the shadow is gone, in a better universe of my making, that will never happen again, as my chosen orbit has taken me to the galaxy where I belong.
Thank you very much. Francesca.
So, okay. Even if I had never tried to be great, I still am. Greatness is to exist, experience joy, love, eat, have sex, give a hug. Life, existence of life itself is a great feat. And so all forms of life, therefore, are great. I am great because I exist. I am great because I am life living out its form in one of a million different ways.
Thank you. Emily.
I think I'm going to pass on this one. Thank you.
Sure. Dorothy.
I think I'm gonna pass on this one.
All right. Anna Grace.
When I'm choosing to be joyful, I'm choosing to surrender the tumult of to-do lists, meal prepping, office hours, med school applications, friendships to maintain. I'm choosing to analyze this one little curl on the right side of my head that's new and magical and bouncy. I'm choosing to let the rumble of the train alter the rhythms of my heart. I feel the vibrations in my toes. I'm choosing to dance in a way that limbs flail around and sweaty clumps of hair fly past my eyes. Is that radical?
Thank you very much. Anne,
Guess I can share some snippets. Getting lost, unable to let go, staying as he would in the safety of discontent. Is joy a choice, or is it a happening inside your heart?
thank you very much. Kate Kostelnik,
I went with eclipse. The sun is sometimes eclipsed by the moon. You know I don't see you when she walks in the room. And that's a lyric from a U2 album from 1992 that Liz and I listened to while talking on the phone. We liked the other lyric, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, but Liz had so many boyfriends. I think about her on grounds. She'd made it through 3 years at UVA. She'd make another 16 after that until her overdose in May of 2016. I learned she died while I put on sunscreen for graduation. My colleague and friend Kate and I had volunteered as faculty seating guides.
thank you. Kate Stevenson,
So I'm going to read 2 lines of one and then a section from another. I have surfaced from thousands of doubts, 20 years with someone I'm not sure I ever loved. And then here's the second part. It's from the eclipse one. Remember when we watched the solar eclipse in the Best Buy parking lot? We didn't drive to Tennessee or the Midwest like thousands of others. We wanted to, but who can organize that with 3 kids under the age of 12? So we bought our glasses on Amazon and carried them with us, not sure where we would be at 4:27 p.m. Turns out we were in the Best Buy parking lot. We put on our glasses and looked up at the spectacle no one would see again for centuries. We looked up with all the people in Tennessee and China and Maine and California, and we collectively watched the sun disappear from the sky.
thank you. Does anyone who did not share feel like they would like to share at this time? So the poem is completely your words. I didn't add anything. The only thing I did is change the order, and I will type it up and send it to Kate Stevenson. And here it goes. It's called The Galaxy Where I Belong. I know not everything is a lesser planet to exist in. In the safety of discontent, I am not as trusting. Where would I find a refuge, a great feat? Surrender the tumult, make it new and magical. Get rid of thousands of doubts. But now that eclipse is over. It is happening inside your heart. I remember we watched it from the Best Buy parking lot, and I am still someone. We know it. We carried them with us. I am life living out its turn. I think about her on grounds. We looked up with all the people in Maine and Tennessee, and there was this one little curl, it turns out. You know I don't see you, but I do. I learned that she died while I was putting on sunscreen, but look, feel the vibrations in her, and quietly watched as the sun disappeared from the sky. So those are your words. And just a real delight and honor to hear different voices coming in, and also to bear witness to those who were clearly listening and listening to the sharing. So thank you all very much for that sharing. I see that we have 15 minutes remaining, and I'd like to give Kate Stevenson a choice of what you'd like me to do with this time. I could either read another poem and invite thoughts. I could do another writing exercise, or I could simply talk about writing in a busy world.
Let's do another writing exercise. I thought that one was wonderful, what we just did.
Great. Let's do another writing exercise. Okay. For this one, just because I like to shake things up a little bit, I am going to verbally do them. So it'll sound a little bit like last time it was a little robotic because I was like, the next one's up, the next one's up. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw out some words and phrases. And my interrupting you with the next one is, it might be spur. So just move on to the next one after I've done the first one. Just move on. I see someone's written in the chat. So let me see if I'm missing anything important. All right.
Kate K had to leave her daughter's home from school, so she just
Got it. Perfect. Oh, and you want to read Jesus and the Jumper Cables. Oh, okay. I can read that to you as well at the end. Yeah. All right. Okay. So again, I'll pause every few, probably 45 seconds. This will be faster. So it'll kind of shake you up a little bit, and there'll be 6 of them this time. So here we go. In the mornings, I try to. Sometimes I just want to be. Sometimes I just want to be. She woke to find out her. She woke to find out her. Curtains, curtains. Curtains remind me of. Curtains remind me of. Over and over I have. Over and over I have. Last one. Come, see what I've, come, see what I've. All right. I am going to invite us at the same, I guess, exercise in which I will call your name and you may read parts and parcels or say skip. And I will go in the opposite, the backwards direction this time, starting with you, Kate Stevenson.
Sorry, I'm having mute issues. Okay. Come, see what I've written. Do you like the way the words sound? What do you hear? Shall I read it to you? Will you write with me?
Thank you. Anne.
Think for a minute. Just a snippet. Providing much the work, but oh, so much more the satisfaction.
Thank you. Evie.
In the mornings, I try not to rush. I sit in my green chair with a cup of coffee and watch for birds. When I see a bird, I start my day.
Thank you. Anna Grace.
Over and over, I have ducked my head beneath an oncoming wave to feel the murky water pushing my hair forward, backward. The salt tickles my nose.
Thank you. Dorothy.
Come, see what I just got on my test. An A to affirm that I've been a good child, not the burden you might think I am. I did it, right? But why do you still seem like you're not proud?
Thank you. Emily.
She woke to find that her dreams had not come true. She remained young and partial, still half-formed, yet whole in that this is as old as she'd ever been, as tall, as wise, as learned, as loved.
Thank you. Francesca.
Curtains remind me of my room. The ones I have are sheer. They protect me from others' eyes, but they still let the light in.
Chris.
Come see what I've made for dessert. I know you'll like it. It's from Southern Living and has cream cheese in it, but it's not heavy and dense like cheesecake at all.
Did I not call upon anyone? This is a littler poem called When I See a Bird. This is as old as she'd ever been. Do you like the way I said that? Not heavy and dense at all, found backwards. Think for a minute, not the burden, still half baked, but oh, so much more the satisfaction. The ones I have are sheer. Sit in my green chair. I did it, right? Still, let the light in. When I see a bird, I start my day. Your words, a little different order. What a joy to hear everyone's writing and be able to spend this time with you. Did anyone have any final thoughts?
Can you share with us? It's like you're a magician. How do you do that? How do you get everyone's so quickly? I mean, I'm being funny, but that's amazing that you are able to take people's words like that and rearrange them so quickly.
Well, I'm listening and I'm writing down what you say, and what I do, I mean, on a literal basis, so I can usually get a sense that like where something should be in the middle. I think so. For the first one, well, when you talked about the bit at the Best Buy, I felt like that had to go in the middle because that's something really concrete. And so I space it out. So you actually had said, Kate, during earlier on in the session today, you said not everything. And I thought, okay, that's got to be the first line of something. And then I forget who shared a lesser planet. And then I thought that's got to be up top because it's kind of giving us. So it's, I leave space, and I also, when I first started doing this, I would try to write down every single word. But for instance, when Francesca just shared about the curtains, I think said sheer let in the light. You said still they let in the light, but I can get rid of the they, still let in the light. And so I kind of try to train myself which words could go, not that, and I always like to say to folks, I'm not trying to diminish or at all tinker or dwindle or water down what you've written. What you've written has great voice, and I want everyone to know that. My goal is to take it so we all have made a mosaic and put it together. But I hope no one feels like I just took and plopped. I want you to know I'm honoring your words. Does that answer?
Mhm.
Anyone else have questions?
And no, I just have a comment. This was a fun, a little tiring, but fun.
It's a lot
Fun.
to, I agree with the that it takes some energy because first of all, I'm a stranger to you. So that's one layer. And then the other is I'm asking, it's quite complicated what you've been asked to do, which is write on the spot. And then whether or not you're ready to share, that's a decision. And so there's a lot of decisions going on. Yes, I agree. It can be tiring, but I'm glad it also was fun.
Lot of fun.
Good.
Yes, very, very well done, and in the hands of an experienced and obviously experienced writer. So how does she do it so quickly? Because she writes all the time and can more easily do that than those of us who are less experienced. But it was really good.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been a great honor to be with you. I just think I'll end with a poem, and as a way to, and I think you asked for Jesus and the jumper cables, but I'm actually still tinkering with that. I've revised it a lot, so I don't think I'm ready to share it, because I've really been revamping it. So I will share something else here. One thing, a small word, because I've spent many years doubting the ability to write. And I think that very doubt can be one of the greatest, I call it a speed bump, where you might be getting a little bit of momentum and then, and so I try to say to myself, well, first of all, I try to have really whimsical things around, like here's my lamp. I try to fill, I try to bring almost, I would say, a childlike, the way that children can play. Many children can play really uninhibitedly. And a story, this is sort of an urban myth, but it's a story about a little girl in first grade, and she's drawing, intent, bent over her drawing, and her teacher comes up to her and says, "What are you drawing?" And the little girl says, "Oh, I'm very confident. This is a picture of God. This is my picture of God." And the teacher said, "Well, how do you know what God looks like?" And she goes, "Well, now I do." And it's that kind of sort of bravura that I think growing into adulthood tries to strip from us. And so when I go to write, I say, "Charlotte, you're just playing. You're just here to play today." And getting rid of the whole myth of, as we spoke of earlier, like, is this going to get published? That is a whole different part of my brain. But the actual writing is filled with joy. And so I just wanted to share that. And I'll just end us with a poem. And this is a poem that might be somewhat near to us, because of those of us who live in Charlottesville and remember the Kmart. I think it closed 1.5 years ago. And I went there just a few weeks before it closed. And this is called Kmart's Closing. Kmart's closing and everything's on sale. Even the bath mats look beleaguered, aware of their uncertain future. I buy a miniature plum tree at half price, but when I get it to the car and place it on the floorboard of the back seat, it looks at me regretfully, like both of us are doomed. Me and the plum tree, done for. Long gone are the blue light specials that could happen at any moment, astound you with a flashing light and siren right in the middle of a store. I tell all this to the oldest man in my mindfulness group. He listens like you'd expect him to, then shows me a photo of a cobalt butterfly that floated just this morning right over his yard. So I will end with that, and with gratitude for the time and sharing that you gave to me today.
Thank you.
Thank you all very
Yes,
much.
Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Great group, Kate. It was
Yeah,
really
she
good.
was amazing. Wasn't she great?
Yeah, I knew she'd be good. I didn't know how
Really
good.
engaged. Usually the whole energy is kind of relaxed. We ride a little bit, maybe take a walk. This was like, very different, but it was good. It was a really good, nice change of pace.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It was tiring because then you also had to like quickly decide what parts to share. That was like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good. And then I like, there's something about having it happen so quickly and just going through that you don't have time to get your nerves up or think too much. You just write and talk, which is, I think, a good thing. So
Yeah,
at
I
least-
feel like I have the beginnings of a lot of things. Did you guys feel that way? I feel
Yeah.
like I now have the
Yeah.
beginnings to go back to. Yeah.
But it makes you get more comfortable with just writing, which is what we all want to do, but we're so bogged down, This just forces you just to do the process.
Mhm. Yeah, I
that's
think
what
we should
liked
do
about
this
it,
again.
too.
Sorry, go ahead, Francesca.
Oh, yeah.
Just the short prompts, I like those. I liked those a lot because I feel like, when we have long form, I'm always like, I'm thinking too hard about how it sounds, and with these, you just have to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
write.
You don't edit at all. No editing.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
And
try
I
this
think
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Producing such a volume, you're not that much invested in what you put a half an hour into. You're not really invested. If it's something you
Right.
threw off in a sentence or two, you can, who cares if it sucks, and you can read it out loud. It's,
Right.
I think
And
it's
it's
great.
pretty astounding what comes into your mind.
Yeah, it is interesting to see what you come up with. I don't generally, the free writing doesn't necessarily work really well for me, but even not particularly liking that, I still found, at least within what I had written, a sentence or, a snippet of something that could then, that I could either use as a beginning line or to form writing around or something, something to work with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that
good.
was a lot of fun. We
Yeah,
got a
thank you guys
good
for
group.
being here. Yeah. We'll
You're
see you.
welcome. Bye, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye.
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 It was great. Really good group.